of allegiance. Tonight's invocation is being offered by the Reverend Henry Stover Hicks of Tabernacle Baptist Church. He is the guest of Council Member Berkeley Allen.
Almighty and most everlasting God, in whom we live and move and have our being. Bless these council members, Father, as only you can. Give them power to make wise decisions for the benefit of our city. And Father, if there be any discord among them, remove them right now. Oh, Master, we ask that you be with us all as we live by your word. For your word is our guide for life. Oh, Master, let us realize that obedience is the key. Help us all, Father, to be obedient to your word. Then, when it's all over down here, when we've gone the last mile of the way, we just be looking for that day when you will say, "Well done, my good and faithful servants. You've been faithful over a few things. Come on up, and I'll make you ruler over many." It's in the strong and precious name of Jesus we pray and ask it all. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes of our May 6th meeting? Without objection, the minutes will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
Thank you. Before we begin, I would like to recognize Sarah Yondell. She is our intern right now. She is from Belmont Law School, and she will be working with us through the month of June. Sarah, will you stand up? We also have two presentations this evening. Councilmember Evans.
It is my great honor and pleasure to honor Senator Henry on behalf of this council tonight. He's been my senator since I moved to Nashville. He's been my friend. He has been good to this body and to this city. And I can't think of a greater thing for us as a council to do than to honor him tonight. So I'm going to read the resolution, and Charlie's going to read some because we're co-sponsoring it, and then see if Senator Henry wants to say a few words. This is a resolution recognizing Senator Douglas Henry on the occasion of his retirement as a Tennessee state senator. Whereas a native Tennessean born in Nashville, Douglas Henry, a giant in the state legislature whose tenure goes back 6 decades, received his Bachelor of Arts in 1949 from Vanderbilt University, and after a 2-year delay to serve his country in the United States Army, he went to Vanderbilt University Law School and received his law degree in 1951. And whereas Senator Henry married Lottie Hampton Hume on June 15, 1949, and for the past 64 years has been the devoted husband and father to their 6 children, Emily, Catherine, Louetta, Robert, Mary Leland, and Douglas. And whereas, marking the end of an era in the Tennessee General Assembly, Senator Henry's noteworthy 47 years in the political field included serving a single term in the Tennessee House of Representatives and the 79th General Assembly, and since 1971 as an elected member of the Tennessee State Senate, where he served the 21st Senatorial District in the 87th through 108th General Assemblies until his retirement. And whereas Senator Henry represented the 21st Senatorial District, which comprises the western and southern parts of the metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County, for over six decades. And during his time in office, he introduced numerous legislative bills which made Tennessee a better state for its citizens, served on a number of committees that has graciously donated his time to many community and civic organizations. And whereas Senator Henry has devoted his career in public service to causes impacting women and children, he was a sponsor of the nation's first child restraint law, which has contributed to a reduction in injury and death of children in vehicular accidents. And whereas Senator Henry sponsored legislation requiring insurance coverage of mammograms, which heightened early detection of breast cancer and saved countless lives.
And whereas Senator Henry was instrumental in securing state funds and fundraising for preservation of Radnor Lake for generations of Tennesseans. And whereas respected by his peers and colleagues for his keen insight and commitment to public service, Senator Douglas Henry has served on the board of both the Tennessee Historical Society and the Tennessee Historical Commission, involved in the Tennessee State Museum Commission, and has worked tirelessly to establish a new state museum along with numerous other services. And whereas deeply involved in his community, he has contributed his time and energies to numerous organizations and endeavors, including the YMCA, the Nature Conservancy, the American Legion, the Multiple Sclerosis Society, and Vanderbilt's Children's Hospital. And whereas no stranger to honors and accolades, Senator Henry has received an array of awards and letters of appreciation, most notably the Order of the Red Triangle from the YMCA, the first annual Friends of Radnor Lake Environmental Award, the State Naturalist Award from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, and the John Bragg Award for Excellence in Legislative Services from the Southern Legislative Council. And whereas it's fitting and proper that the Metro Council recognize Senator Douglas Henry for the great service he has given to this state and wish him well in his retirement.
And before I turn it over to Senator Henry, I want to say that he has a motto that I think is just so important for all of us to keep in mind, which is he wants to leave Tennessee better than he found it, which I can't think of a better way to describe him. Senator Henry, thank you so much for being here this evening.
My goodness. Madam Vice Mayor, Lady Evans, Charlie, ladies and gentlemen, I have nothing to say. I was born when Nashville was a big county seat with a state capital in it. And here you all are in midst of the affairs of a world-known, world-renowned cosmopolis. What a change, what a change. And it's not easy to make that change, as you all know better than I. I think when I started in the legislature, if I remember right, Tom Cummings was mayor, perhaps Ben West, Bill DeBrowler was county judge. We had both organizations, and they came together later. So they had got now Bill Purcell. Yeah, he's a good man, Bill Purcell. I knew him when he was a city lawyer, as you all did too. Well, you all have a lot of business to do. All I can say is, folks, I really really humble. I never thought, I still don't think, that the city of Nashville owes me anything at all. I voted with the city fellas and with the country fellas since I've been up there. And I probably cost you some tax money. I voted for the Greenbelt law. But I will go home tonight with a warm feeling that I've been among friends. And I thank you all so very much. Thank you.
Marlene. I was going to say you could turn the clock back on. The next presentation is by Councilmember Carter Todd. Councilmember Todd, would you please go to the lectern?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Great. George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr., all great American leaders, but you know who has his likeness on the most widely used piece of American currency in the world? I'll give you a hint. Think of the Anytime Teller machine. It's Nashville's own Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill.
Thank you.
Why Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill? Andrew Jackson was our first self-made president. He came to Tennessee from South Carolina without a penny to his name. Jackson's two-term presidency was the midpoint between the Revolutionary War, which Jackson finally finished with his decisive victory in the Battle of New Orleans, and the Civil War, which Jackson was on the right side of by standing up to South Carolina when it first threatened to leave the Union in 1830. Most lists of presidents have Andrew Jackson in the top 10. I'm here tonight with Howard Cattell, the CEO of the Hermitage, to recognize Andrew Jackson and the Hermitage on the 125th anniversary of the Hermitage becoming an official tourist destination. It was just named this year by USA Today as the 4th most popular presidential home in the country. And to also recognize and acknowledge the fact that January 8th of next year will be the 200th anniversary of the Battle of New Orleans, the victory that propelled Jackson to national fame and eventually to the White House. If Andrew Jackson is such a well-known and important figure, why don't we in Nashville do more to recognize and promote his life and his beautiful home, the Hermitage? I think it is because Jackson and the America of his time achieved great things while committing grievous sins. Jackson's sins and shortcomings reflect the sins and shortcomings of the entire country at that time. We cannot and should not gloss over the fact that Andrew Jackson was a slave owner and that he is identified with Indian removal in the South. But to put the weight of both of those tragedies, and those are the two great American tragedies, on one person is a cop-out. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were slave owners, and many historians believe that the Indian removal in the Northeast was much worse than what happened in the Southeast. Nevertheless, it is clear that Andrew Jackson, while a great president, was a flawed person, much like many of our other presidents. Whether or not we like all the chapters in the Andrew Jackson story, his story is a vital part of the history of our country. Jackson's most important legacy is that he was truly the first president of the people. What Martin Luther King Jr. did for black suffrage, and Susan B. Anthony did for women's suffrage, Andrew Jackson did for the common man's suffrage. Before Jackson, our country was run by the elites. Jackson's election gave a voice to the farmers, the blacksmiths, and factory workers. We are fortunate to have Andrew Jackson's historic home here in Nashville, and even with his flaws and shortcomings, he was an important president, and his lovely home is a part of the fabric of our city. Now, as Nashville has become the target city for more and more travelers and tourists, I urge all of you on the council to embrace the history of Andrew Jackson and his home, help promote it, and encourage these new Nashville visitors to come see this important part of our city. I would now like to present Mr. Cattell with this honorary resolution from the Metro Council and ask him to say a few words. Howard.
Thank you, Councilman Todd and members of Metro Council. On behalf of our Board of Directors and staff and our volunteers, I want to thank you for this resolution honoring the work of the Ladies Hermitage Association, the legacy of Andrew Jackson and his impact on the history of our nation, and the coming bicentennial of the Battle of New Orleans. Jackson's victory not only put him on the national stage, it put Nashville on the national stage as well. Your past and present support of the Hermitage enables us to better serve almost 35,000 school children a year and an additional 180,000 visitors annually. The Hermitage is a rare asset here in Nashville. The National Trust for Historic Preservation estimates that there are 15,000 house museums in the United States. Of these, 52 are the homes of past presidents, but only one of those is a home dedicated to the legacy of Andrew Jackson, and it's right here in Nashville. In fact, just recently, this past weekend, Jackson was named number 5 of the top 6 presidents. So you have this national landmark right here in the city. We add to the diversity of the mix of tourist attractions, as well as meaning and enjoyment to local children and adults. The Hermitage is a 1,120-acre green space in an increasingly developed metropolitan area. We appreciate your trust in us and value the value you place on this unique historic site. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, could I be recognized for a moment of personal privilege, please?
Okay.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, during the announcement period, I don't know if too many people were not in here, but tonight, you see my seatmate's seat is empty. It's Councilman Buddy Baker. He is in the hospital having tests. He thought he was going to be released today, but he is staying overnight. I just ask that you keep him in your thoughts and prayers and welcome him back soon to his most wanted seat next to me. Thank you.
Tonight on our agenda, we have 3 recommendations for the Metropolitan Auditor. We have Mark Swain, Colonel Klein, and Anthony Newmeyer. Is there any discussion on these nominations? Okay, we will need a machine vote. I think the clerk has tried to help us out here a little bit. For Mark Swan, if you're voting for him, you press your green button. For Colonel Klein, you press your red button. And for Newmeyer, you press your yellow button. Please cast your vote. There are a few folks who haven't voted yet. Madam Clerk, will you close the machine and tally the vote?
It's 35 for Swan, 1 for Klein, and none for Newmeyer.
Congratulations, Mr. Swan. Where are you? Stand up and let us recognize you. Councilmember Berry, elections and confirmations. Try again.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I appreciate it. Elections and confirmations tonight. We have several. We have the first reappointment of Ms. Julie Mosley to the Metropolitan Nashville Airport Authority, and we approved her we recommended approval 6-4-0 against. We have the approval of Mr. Robert Campbell Jr., Bo Campbell, to the Electric Power Board, 6-4-0 against. We have the reappointment of Mr. George Anderson to the Board of Parks and Rec for 6-4-0 against. And we have the reappointment of Mr. Sal Hernandez and the reappointment of Mr. Ben Jordan to the Transportation and Licensing Commission, 6-4-0 against. And with that, I move approval for all of those.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
We also had the appointment of Ms. Jessica Farr deferred for till the June 3rd meeting, 6-4-0 against. And I move approval.
We have a motion and a second for a one-meeting deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Julie Mosley, Bo Campbell, George Anderson, Saul Hernandez, and Ben Jordan. On behalf of the entire Metropolitan Council, thank you very much for donating your time and your expertise for our wonderful city. Thank you. We are now at resolutions on public hearing. RS 2014-1090 exempts Pop LLC located at 604 Gallatin Road from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
We need to do public hearing.
I'm sorry. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, do you wish to speak in support? Seeing no one wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Yes, Vice Mayor, I'd like to move for approval.
Now we need the committee report.
All right. Committee
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Safety approved this 4-4 and 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval of brief explanation.
We have a motion and a second.
I'm just so happy to bring in another small business into my district, and just want to thank the council for their support. I'd like to move for approval.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at the consent agenda. I'm going to read the ones that are on consent, and then you can tell me which ones we need to pull. And then we will go to the few that aren't on the consent agenda. 1091 through 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 1102, 1103, 1104, 1082, 1105, and 1106 are on the consent agenda. RS 2014-1091 appropriates $2 million from the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing to 3 not-profit organizations selected to receive grant funds to assist with providing good quality affordable housing. 1092 approves an application for a renewal of a grant from the State Department of Correction to the state trial courts to divert felony offenders from the Tennessee prison system. 1093 approves an amendment to a grant from the State Department of Transportation to the Metro Police Department for enhanced DUI enforcement patrols. 1094 approves the continuation of an intergovernmental agreement between the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Metro Police Department for extra-duty police services. 1095 approves a grant from the State Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to fund the Help Us Grow Successfully program. 1096 approves a grant from the State Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to enhance the health and well-being of women, infants, and families. 1097 approves an annual grant from the State Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health for food safety services. 1102 approves a continuation grant from the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency to the Metro Historical Commission to perform environmental reviews for development proposals using federal funds. 1103 authorizes the Metro Department of Law to settle the personal injury claim of Chastity Buchanan against Metro in the amount of $9,000. 1104 approves the election of notaries public for Davidson County. 1082 requests Metro Development and Housing Agency to create a redevelopment plan for a portion of Council District 5 and requesting the Industrial Development Board to explore the creation of an economic impact plan for the same area. 1105 recognizes May 2014 as American Stroke Month. 1106 proclaims the week of May 18 through 24, 2014 as Public Works Week in Davidson County. Do any of these need to be pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, I will need committee reports. Councilmember Stein.
On 10, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, and 1101, 1102, 1103, and 1082, the Budget and Finance Committee approved 12 for, none against.
Thank you. Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you. For 1095, 96, and 97, Health and Hospitals approved 3 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and Zoning approved 1102, 10 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Harrison.
Public Safety approved 1093 and 1094, 4 for, and 0 against.
Councilmember Berry. We're having trouble getting your microphone.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm not going to take it personally. Rules and Confirmations approved 1104, 1105, and 1106, 6 for, 0 against. And with that, I would move the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We'll now go back to the ones that are not on the consent agenda. And without objection, we're going to take 1052, 1087, and 1088 together. 1052 provides amendments to the charter and sets forth a brief description of each amendment to be placed on the ballot. 1087 provides amendments to the charter and sets forth a brief description of each amendment to be placed on the ballot. And 1088 provides amendments to the charter and sets forth a brief description of each amendment to be placed on the ballot. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Do I need committee reports first, or? Okay, I think I am the committee, so I will give the reports. On Amendment 1, the Charter and Revision Committee voted 1 for, 2 against. On Amendment 2, 3 for, 0 against. On Amendment 3, 1 for, 2 against. On Amendment 4, 2 in favor, 1 against. On Amendment 5, 3 in favor, 0 against. On Amendment 6, 2 in favor and 1 against. And with that, I would move for a 1-meeting deferral with a very brief explanation.
We have a motion and a second. Is that the only part of your motion?
And to re-refer, thank you, and to re-refer to the Charter Revision Committee.
And we have a second on that. We have a second. Councilmember Allen.
There were several council members who asked for just a little bit more time to look over some of these issues. There are some that are fairly complex, and I believe that time is warranted. Also, to give people time to look at the compensation study that was done for the council that some members didn't know if they had gotten or not. So hopefully there will be a little bit more information, and then we will reconsider it at the next meeting. So with that, I'll review my motion for 1-meeting deferral.
All in favor of the 1-meeting deferral, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is RS 2014-1098, approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and City Road Child Development Center for the Project Diabetes Golden Sneaker Initiative Program. We can take all of these together. 1099 approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and McNeely Child Care Center for the Project Diabetes Golden Sneaker Initiative Program. 1100 approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and McNeely Child Care Center number 2 for the Project Diabetes Golden Sneaker Initiative Program. Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report, please. It's just to me. Health and Hospitals approved 3, 4, 0 against 4, 1098, 1099, and 1100. And I also have a proposed amendment.
Okay.
I'd like to move the amendment.
Okay.
It is a housekeeping amendment for all three. Basically, we had a typo, and this is to clarify that this is a 12-month contract extension for all three. So I ask for your support for the amendment for all three bills.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor of the amendments, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Councilman Maynard.
I'd like to move as amended.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Okay. Next is RS 2014-1101, approves an amendment to a grant from the State Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to prepare dislocated workers for re-entry into the labor force. Councilmember Stein.
Budget and Finance approved 12-4, none against, and I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. There is no recommendation from the Personnel Committee. The only recommendation we have on this resolution is from Budget and Finance. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2014-984 requests the Davidson County delegation to the Tennessee General Assembly to support legislation to provide a dedicated funding source for local mass transit. Councilmember Tigard.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Stein.
Budget and Finance voted to defer at the request of sponsor, 12-4, none against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and Zoning approved 10-4-0 against.
I am so sorry. I have Traffic and Parking, but I have Councilmember Hunt's name next to it. Councilman Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Sorry, Councilman Hunt.
Traffic and Parking, at the request of the sponsor, deferred this one meeting. 2-4 and 0 against.
Councilman Tigard.
Councilman Harrison is the younger one.
Yes, sir. I'll remember that.
How do you know that?
I moved to defer one meeting.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of a one meeting deferral, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on introduction and first reading. Are there any of these that need to be pulled for consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion for their approval? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We have a late file bill. It adopts the capital improvements budget and program for 2014. Councilmember Stein, what's the nature of the emergency?
The nature of the emergency is that there's a charter requirement that this capital improvements budget be approved on third reading not later than June 15. So to meet that mandated charter schedule, this ordinance must be considered tonight. If council needs further inducement, if we don't act tonight on first reading, it will require a special called meeting because of the charter requirement, and so I would ask for a suspension of the rules to consider this on first reading this evening.
Is there any objection to a suspension of the rule? Seeing none, Councilmember Stein.
I would move approval of the 2014-15 to 2019-2020 capital improvements budget ordinance.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on second reading. The first one is 2014-665, submits a 0.5% local option sales and use tax increase for the public for a referendum vote for the purpose of funding mass transit and providing funding for the Metro Public Schools. Councilmember Tigard.
Committee report.
Councilmember Stein. Budget and Finance at the request of the sponsor move to defer for one meeting, 12-4, none against.
Councilmember Tigard.
Move for a one meeting deferral.
We have a motion and a second on a one-meeting deferral. Councilman Stein?
Yes, on the motion to defer, I'm not opposing the motion to defer, but this sales tax hike has created a great deal of email chatter today, and for me, I may have missed something, but I see no strong support for this or any support for this much in this council, and I apologize if I misspeak in that there is a strong movement for us to raise the sales tax this year. For some reason, we're pushing this off for another 2 weeks rather than deal with this evening, and there are sincere folks in this community that believe when bills are before us that they have a serious chance of being enacted into law, and so they are reacting to the notion of us passing the sales tax. And so I just, to those that are out there, I just, for one, want them to know I'm going to vote against this if it ever comes before us, and I'm sorry we're not dealing with it tonight.
Councilmember Duvall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to put a stake in the heart of this bill tonight, so I would like to go ahead and move to beat this bill, defeat it. Is that out of order?
We already have a motion to approve.
Was it second?
To
defer.
I mean defer.
Speaking in opposition to the motion to defer.
Okay, then I'm going to oppose deferring it so we can vote it down tonight. Let's get rid of it.
Okay. We have a motion to defer. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion to defer, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
No.
We will need a machine vote.
Vote no with me, Carter. I need you.
Madam Clerk, please close the machine and tally the vote.
On the motion to defer, 10-4, 25 against, 1 abstention.
So the motion to defer fails.
And now we need a motion either to approve or disapprove or withdraw.
Councilman Tigert? Try again.
Move to withdraw.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to withdraw, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2014-666, amends the Metro Code to increase the amount of the annual vehicle regulatory license fee for both commercial and non-commercial motor vehicles. Councilmember Tigert.
Committee report.
Councilmember Stein.
Budget and Finance, at the request of the sponsor, voted to defer 12-4, none against.
Councilmember Harrison.
Traffic and Parking, at the request of the sponsor, voted to defer this one meeting, 2-4 and 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Tigert.
I would move to withdraw with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I was not really prepared to speak tonight, but this is fine. I filed these bills not thinking that that this would be anything that any of us would want to support. But I filed them out of a courtesy to the taxpayers and to the people that support better mass transit. We have kicked it down the road, the issue of a dedicated funding source, for over 20 years. No administration, no council, no leadership from departments. No department in Metro wants to talk about better mass transit in this area, and is this community willing to fund that mass transit? Years of experience through chamber intercity visits, through personal visits, through discussions with other communities have left us with one lesson to be learned, if anything, that those cities that have successful mass transit have one thing in common. Actually, two things in common. They have a good plan that is supported by the citizens of that community, and number two, they have a dedicated funding source so that you don't continue to pull funds from the general government, taking away other services, and you're subjected to the highs and lows of good years and bad years and recessions and boom times. So these bills were not saying that Charlie Tigert or the Metro Council was supporting a sales tax referendum or a increase in wheel tax, but it was introducing and at least trying to get someone, whether that someone is sitting in this room, out there in the gallery, anywhere in Nashville, that if we're going to propose routes and systems that need funding, we as a community, other than continuing to borrow money and borrow more money and refinance and borrow more money, we have to have a dedicated funding source. So that was the only purpose of these bills, to create discussion, and I'm glad that it at least is out there. I've gotten this off of my chest, and those in the next council and the councils after this, hopefully will figure out a mechanism of what this community wants and how we can reasonably pay for it. With that, I renew my withdrawal motion.
Councilman Claiborne, you wish to speak on the motion to withdraw?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to thank Councilman Tigert for at least bringing this to the fore. I do support his withdrawal motion, but I also wanted to say that this is a conversation that has to take place at some point in time. A couple of weeks ago, we had a forum of 3 individuals who sat up there to talk about mass transit in Nashville. One of those individuals was the acting head of the MTA. And in his remarks, he indicated that the BTR systems that we're currently putting in place were for the most part funded with federal grants that are in the process of getting ready to expire. And that there is no real plan as to how to keep those programs running. So what the councilman was trying to bring forward here is the elephant in the room, is that if we're going to have mass transit, which everybody wants, how are we going to pay for it? And the only other option to dedicated funding is through either sales tax or property tax. There is no other source for funding programs like this. So I'm disappointed that we as a council can at least engage in a conversation that is one that has to take place at some point in time if we're to move ahead with having a successful, sustainable mass transit system in the system.
All in favor of the withdrawal motion, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-698 amends the Metro Code pertaining to the enforcement mechanism associated with the delivery of non-subscription published materials. Councilmember Claiborne.
Committee, let's see. Committee reports. Yes, committee report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. At the request of the sponsor, 1 meeting deferral, 4 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Claiborne.
I would move to defer 1 meeting with brief comment.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman.
When I deferred this originally about 3 meetings ago, the purpose was to give the Tennessean time to respond to what they accepted as an issue that needed to be dealt with. And I was willing to give them ample time to do that. At the same time, I asked the director of the Codes Department to take the time to look at the proposal and make sure that he was department with the manner in which codes would be involved if and when the proposal actually passes. As of today, Director Cobb is comfortable with going forward and the process that would be followed. The Tennessean, through their spokesman, has spoken with me. You have a letter on your desk that outlines 5 proposals that they intend to take to hold themselves accountable and to be a little bit more responsive to the larger community. 4 of those proposals are in-house. So we have no control over when and how those take place. We take on faith that if they say they're going to do it, they're going to do it. One of those proposals is external and has to do with the Metro Beautification Department, and another is a request that I have made It's a good faith effort on the part of the Tennessean to say we recognize this problem and this is what we're going to do to it, and to address that to their readership through an article in the Tennessean. Nothing has been done to, at this point, meaningful to have that conversation with Metro Beautification that I know of, and nothing has been done to reach out to me for any input into the newspaper article that is necessary. So I'm deferring this for another 2 weeks. That's 14 issues of the Tennessean, and it's 2 working weeks for the Tennessean or their spokesman to have some meaningful conversation with the director of the Beautification Commission, and to demonstrate that at least they are beginning a meaningful conversation about what a media partnership might look like. And it also gives them time to respond to my request for input into a newspaper article that would appear sometime before we come together again in 2 weeks. So with that understanding, I renew my motion to defer for 1 meeting.
All in favor of the 1 meeting deferral, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-748 approves an agreement between the Metro Arts Commission and the West staff for the archiving of public art. Councilmember Stein.
Budget and Finance approved 12-4, none against. I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-749 amends the Geographic Information System Street and Alley Centerline layer for abandoning portions of the right-of-way and easements on alley number 442. Councilmember Moore.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On BL 2014-749, the Public Works Committee approved 5, 4, and 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and Zoning approved bills 1102, 749, 10-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore.
I move for approval, please.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-750 amends the Geographic Information System Street and Alley Centerline layer by abandoning the right-of-way and easements of Jackson Park and alley number 204. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Public Works Committee approved BL 2014-750, 5, 4, and 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and Zoning approved bill 750, 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Gilmore.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-751 declares 14 parcels of Metro government-owned property to be surplus and authorizes the sale of the property. Councilmember Stein.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and Zoning approved bill 751, 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Stein.
Budget and Finance approved 12-4, none against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-752 declares the Ben West Library building located at 225 Polk Avenue to be surplus and authorizes the sale of the property. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and Zoning approved bill 752, 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Stein.
Budget and Finance approved 12-4, none against.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. 753 abandons 420 linear feet of 8-inch water main, 395 linear feet of 10-inch water sewer main, 330 linear feet of 8-inch sewer main for properties located at 419 Jefferson Street, 1023 4th Avenue, 5th Avenue North and 1007 4th Avenue North. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works approved, 753, 5 for, and 0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved Bill 753, 10 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Gilmore.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-754 abandons 130 linear feet of an existing 8-inch sewer main, authorizes construction of a 15 linear feet of an 8-inch DIP water main and 1 fire hydrant assembly, and abandons 108 linear feet of 8-inch PVC sewer main for properties at 336 and 345 Hill Avenue. Councilmember Moore.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On 754, Public Works Committee approved 4 in favor and 0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved Bill 754, 10 for, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilmember Moore.
I move for approval, please.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-755 abandons 95 linear feet of an existing 36-inch combination sewer main and accepts 114 linear feet of a 42-inch combination sewer main for property located at 1406 Holly Street. Councilmember Westerholm.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On 755, Public Works Committee approved 4 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
755.
755.
755 was approved 10 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Westerholm.
I would move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-756 accepts permanent and temporary easements for the Sylvan Park Stormwater Improvement Projects for properties located along Charlotte Avenue, Pike, Park Avenue, Elkins Avenue, Nevada Avenue, Dakota Avenue, Idaho Avenue, Wyoming Avenue, Nebraska Avenue, 54th Avenue North, 53rd Avenue North, 52nd Avenue North, 51st Avenue North, 50th Avenue North, and 49th Avenue North. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning approved Bill 756, 10 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Dominy.
Public Works approved 5 in favor, 0 against. And with that, I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-757 accepts permanent and temporary easements for the Joyce Lane Stormwater Improvement Project for 16 properties located along Graymar Drive, Graycroft Avenue, Marswin Drive, and Joyce Lane. Councilmember Bennett.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On 757, Public Works approved 5 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved 757, 10 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Bennett.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-758 provides honorary designation of Bishop Michael Lee Graves Boulevard for a portion of Kings Lane. Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you. Committee reports.
Councilmember Stein.
Budget approved, 12 for, none against.
Councilmember Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On 758, Public Works approved 5 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilmember Matthews.
I'd like to move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-725 amends the Metro zoning codes pertaining to the calculation of required street setbacks for residential areas with established development pattern. Councilmember Holloman.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved 10 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Holloman.
Move the substitute.
Do we have a motion? Second. and a second on the substitute. Is there any discussion on the substitute? Seeing none, all in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman Holloman.
Move approval as substituted.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-731 amends 1.77 acres of the Commercial Plan Unit Development Overlay District for property located at 5207 Nolensville Pike to prevent all uses of CS. Councilmember Blaylock.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved Bill 731, 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Blaylock.
Thank you. Move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-732 changes 3.11 acres from AR2A to CS zoning for property located at 3515 Pinhook Road. Councilmember Duvall.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approves Bill 732, 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Duvall.
Thank you so much. I'd like to move for approval with a brief comment.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Duvall.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairman. I wanted to, this is one of the first developments in the urban development overlay that Council Lady Jacobia Dowell and Council Lady Johnson and myself worked on Murfreesboro Road, and it's a beginning. And I just wanted to let you know that this is the beginning of rebuilding Southeast Davidson County and some of the folks that want to move there. And I want to thank the council for supporting this bill.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-733 changes 3.02 acres from CL to CS zoning for properties located at 7417 and 7421 Old Hickory Boulevard. Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approves 733, 10-4-0 against. Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-734 changes 0.61 acres from R6 to SP zoning for properties located at 1421 Porter Road and Porter Road unnumbered, approximately 500 feet south of McKennell Drive to permit up to 6 detached dwelling units. Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you. Committee report, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approves 734, 10-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis.
With that, I would move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-735 changes 1.43 acres from ORI to SP zoning for properties located at 54, 56, 58, 60, 62, and 64 Music Square West to permit a mixture of uses and up to 230 multifamily residential units or redevelopment under the ORIA zoning district. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approves 735, 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you. I move for approval with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second.
Thank you.
Councilmember.
Thank you so much. I just want to say I think that this development on Music Square is an exciting development, and I want to thank all my constituents for coming out and being so participatory in the process, and I think it's really going to be an exciting development. And that's it. So I move for approval.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-736 changes approximately 175 acres from R10 to RS10 zoning for various properties located along Brewer Drive, Tusculum Road, Tusculum Court, Ocala Drive, Ocala Court North, Burns Drive, Wessex Court, Eulalia Drive, Eulalia Court, Eulalia Circle, Towns Drive, Towns Court, Delvin Drive, Delvin Court, Sterry Court, Colmont Drive, Garden View Court, Ashgrove Drive, Ashbriar Circle and Ashmont Court east of Nolensville Pike. Councilmember Blaylock.
Thank you. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved bills 736, 10-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Blaylock.
I move the substitute.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes.
I move the bill as substituted.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
BL 2014-737 makes provisions to approximately 26 acres of the Laughlin Springs East End Neighborhood Conservation Overlay District to various properties located along Avondale Drive, Bushnell Street, Eastland Avenue, Lakehurst Drive, Laughlin Drive, McEwen Avenue, North 17th Street, North 18th Street, Ordway Place, and Rudolph Avenue. Councilmember Westerholm.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved bill 737, 10-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Westerholm.
I would move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-738 changes .17 acres from RS5 to SP zoning for property located at 612 North 2nd Avenue to permit single-family or detached two-family units. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved bills 738, 10-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Davis.
I'd like to move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-739 amends the Metro Zoning Code pertaining to the personal instruction use. Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved bill 739, 10-4, 0 against, and I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-740 amends the Metro Zoning Code to create and define auction house, flea market, beer and cigarette market, and grocery store as new land uses. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved bill 740, 10-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you. I'd like to move the amendment.
We don't have one.
It's not, okay, I'm sorry. I'd like to move the bill.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 742 amends the Metro Code to exempt beer permit applicants from the minimum distance requirements from residential property if the applicant's primary residence is connected to the establishment for which a permit is sought. Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved this, no, committee report. That's Frank.
Councilmember Harrison. 742.
742. All of, are they all in? Well, we'll move for approval.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Thank you. BL 2014-743 amends the Metro Code to reduce the minimum seating capacity for eating establishments to obtain a retailer on-sale beer permit. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. It appears that all committees have reported, so I just want to thank the council for moving this legislation forward while I was overseas. As an aside note, while I was in Singapore, I learned that the salary of an elected official there is the equivalent of $1 million US. So rather than see if I'll be eligible to run for another term for District 25, I'm going to announce my candidacy for the Singapore City Council, and I would appreciate your support in that endeavor. With that, I will move approval, Vice Mayor. Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-744 amends the form of a license agreement to use Metro government property for network huts by Google Fiber Company. If I remember correctly, this is the cool bill.
This is absolutely the cool bill, and I move approval of the cool bill.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-745 amends the Geographic Information System street and alley and center line layer by abandoning right-of-way and easements for the unnumbered alley from Lee Avenue to alley number 102 between Hermitage Avenue and Rutledge Avenue. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-746 declares 7 parcels of Metro government-owned property to be surplus and approves the disposition of the property. Councilmember Stein.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We will not be getting out quite this quickly at our next meeting. We have a rather full agenda, but is there a motion to adjourn tonight? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no.
Public.